What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going through the steps to make a DIY sprinkler system. This is going to be specifically a quick connect style where you can connect your garden hose to the PVC line that you see in front of you, which will make that sprinkler head work. I've seen several of these on YouTube, so I'm going to go through the steps that I'm taking. And you'll go with me on this journey to see if this works. So the first thing we're going to go over is supply list. So the supplies I'm using is what was available at my local Home Depot. So you might find that your local hardware store might not necessarily have this stuff, and you might need to improvise. So what I have done is I am using 3/4 inch PVC. I have a 3/4 inch 90, which is right here. I have a 3/4 inch 90 that is threaded on both ends. One side is male, one side is female. I also have a 3/4 inch threaded male side with a unthreaded female side. I have a 3/4 inch hose adapter. This is a quick connect. This is so that you can connect to your regular water hose, which is right here. And then this bit can remain attached to our system so that once we're done, we can just close it up. Which brings me to this point, which is, this is a valve cover. This will get mounted in the yard, and then we will put our entire system into this cover. And then this is where we will access it when it's needed, and otherwise it'll just stay covered up. So there's the PVC fittings. The other fitting that I had to get was a 3/4 inch unthreaded to a hose fitting side. So this will spin freely, which will then allow us to connect our quick connect, which will then go to our water hose. I also have Teflon tape because I really don't want to glue the sprinkler in if for some reason this sprinkler stops working, or if we have any issues with it in the future. I would much rather have this removable more than anything. So Teflon tape for that. Otherwise, we're going to be using just some heavy-duty PVC cement to glue all of our connections together. Then I just got a small section of 3/4 inch PVC. They sell this in relatively small pieces for like $1.50, maybe $2. If you want to get a big long piece and do multiple of these, that's fine. But for this, I'm just doing one. Then I also bought a new water hose. My choice was this Continental. It had the best reviews out of the ones that were available at my local store. And then a lot of the videos I've seen with these DIY sprinklers, they use like sand or different types of materials to put in this. Some of them even use dirt to hold their sprinkler system down. I decided to use pea pebbles or gravel just because I feel like with water and drainage, it'll do a lot better. And then the last piece, this is really, this is left up to you. There's so many of these on the market to choose from. I chose this one. It's a professional grade sprinkler. Primary things that appealed to me is it'll do all the way from 40 degrees to 360 degrees for the spray pattern. It'll also go up to 52 feet out, which gives me plenty of room to work with. This particular model, which is why I stuck with 3/4 inch, is this is a 3/4 inch sprinkler head, which means the female threaded end right here is 3/4 inch, which then my 3/4 inch threaded PVC fitting will go here, and then we'll proceed with putting this all together. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so now that we've gone over the materials list, we're going to have to go over some tools. So the basic things you're going to need to accomplish this is a tape measure, a saw to cut your PVC. I'm just using what's available. They do make some really neat PVC cutting tools. If you're going to be doing multiple of these, I would encourage you to purchase one of those. And the other tool that we need is a Sharpie. Okay, so now that we know what materials you need, what tools you need, now we're going to get started on the assembly piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my sprinkler here. And the main thing I'm really wanting to focus on right now is I want to make sure that when I cut this pipe to make the vertical piece for the inlet where we will attach this hose to, I want it to be of equal length to the sprinkler head so that we have equal pressure on both sides. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to first assemble the 90-degree piece. I'm going to cut the connecting piece right here to go between the two 90s, and then that'll get me to the point where I can assemble my vertical. So we'll go into a quick time lapse of me assembling this, and then I'll come back and explain to you what I had to do. So once you cut your pipe to go in between these two pieces, you will have some burrs depending on the knife that you use. So I did grab some sandpaper and clean this off a little bit, just because you do not want to have a bunch of PVC burrs all over the place before you connect it. And I would also encourage you to clean out the fittings before you apply the glue. So this next step that we're going to do is we're going to basically roughly assemble this. So we're going to do like that. And then the next thing I need to do is, like I said before, I'm going to have to cut this to length so that these match, keeping in mind that I have to have this and this on there. And so I want the pipe to be the same length as this with all these things on top. So it'll end up kind of looking like that when it's all said and done. Okay, so for the gluing process, I would encourage you to get some gloves. Latex would be preferred. Unfortunately, this is all I have around right now. Then you want to shake up your PVC glue. And once you've done that, I typically like to work one end at a time. So what I will do is I will apply glue to one part before applying it to the other part, just to make sure that I'm not getting it all over the place. Like that. And then what you want to do is wipe up this excess before it dries. So I'm going to go grab a towel so I can do that real quick. Okay, so now that we have the two pieces glued together, one thing that I had to do that you might not necessarily have to do is I had to buy a unthreaded to threaded adapter because I couldn't find a unthreaded 90 with a thread. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put glue around these threads just because I want this to be a permanent connection. But like I said earlier, I'm going to leave these threads without glue. I'm actually going to use Teflon tape because if the sprinkler does end up failing at some point, I do want to have the ability to unscrew this and replace it with a new sprinkler in the future if the need arises. So now that these two joints have bonded, I'm going to put some glue on these threads, screw this together, let that bond together, and then we're going to measure this out and make the final connection. Okay, so like I said before, now I'm going to apply the sealant to these threads so I can get this 90 together on that end. Okay, so once we get those glued together, we're going to let this cure for a little bit. It takes about 30 seconds for this particular PVC glue to set up, and then it says it wants about 2 hours before you actually put water to it, which is fine because in the meantime, while we are finishing assembling this, that can cure. So like I said, the next thing that we want to do is Even though I'm waiting on this to dry, what I'll do for the time being is I will screw the sprinkler head down, and I will take a measurement. So from the top of the sprinkler to the top of the 90, matching both sides, is roughly about 7 inches. So we need to have 7 inches between both of these fittings in this pipe. And so what we're going to end up with is these two fittings are just over 3 inches. So we'll say we need about another 4 inches because there's some, the pipe's actually going to go in here to make up some slack. So we'll say this is 3, even though it's about 3.5, which means that we need to have roughly about 4 inches of pipe. We'll call it a little bit over 4 because it'll go inside of this one too to make sure that these are even. So the next thing I'm going to do is measure this pipe. We'll do a quick time lapse of me cutting it, and then hopefully this will all be assembled, and then we can get to the fun part of digging a hole for this valve cover. Okay, so now that we have cut the pipe, we have cleaned the pipe, got rid of all the burrs, what we will do is we're going to take our 90, again, make sure it's clean. And what we're going to do is get some glue. I'm going to put some glue down in the pipe. Once we've done that, we will attach the pipe, making sure it's securely fit. Give it a little bit of a twist. Then we will attach the hose fitting, same exact method. In this case though, since this is a spin fitting, I'm going to attach or apply the glue directly to the pipe, mainly because I don't want to risk plugging up the hose fitting itself. Same exact thing. Apply a little bit of pressure, get it seated, let the glue come out. If there's any excess, just let it run down. Thankfully nobody's going to see this, and this is also clear. Okay, then while that is drying, we will clean up. And the next pieces to do is I'm going to attach some Teflon tape to the threads of the quick connect, and then I will screw that into the hose fitting, and then I will also put some Teflon tape on the threads of the PVC that's going to go into the sprinkler head, because like I said before, I want this to be able to be removable. That way if something starts happening with the sprinkler head in the future and I need to replace it or unclog it or anything like that, it's far easier to undo that than having it glued, because if I glue it, I'm going to have to redo the entire assembly. Okay, so like I said before, got some Teflon tape. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put some on the threads of our PVC, making sure it's nice and tight. Then I will take the sprinkler head, and then I will screw the sprinkler head down into the PVC. make sure that is snug. Then I will take our hose adapter and I will do the same thing. I will apply some Teflon tape to the threads, just ensuring that this has a watertight seal as best as it can. Then I will run that down into the PVC, just like so. Same as the sprinkler head, get it nice and snug. Okay, and then as you can see, in case you weren't aware how this was going to work, this is how the assembly is going to look. And then you have this quick connect right here. This quick connect will attach to your water hose. So just like this. And what's really neat is if you make multiple of these, it gives you the option to walk around the yard, and then all you have to do is connect this in to your sprinkler. Just like that. And then it'll run off your garden hose. So this, like I said, it takes about 2 hours for the glue to set up. We really do want the glue to have the best possible chance of withstanding the pressure. Pressure off of a garden hose is probably going to be far less than what this would see if it was in a typical setting inside of your house, like for instance getting direct pressure off the street or something like that. So we are going to give this the full 2 hours to cure. So while this is drying, like I said, we will move to the yard where we will dig the hole and mount this guy in. Mowing their grass, so excuse the sound, but I'm doing this as a trial, so if this works, I'm going to install 1, if not 2 more of these. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be the furthest away, up near my mailbox. And I'm going to have it come out and spray towards my yard and see how much coverage I can get. Since this will do anywhere between 40 degrees and 360 degrees, I'm going to see if I can get it to spray in a wide pattern and see how far out that'll go. So like I said, first step, find a place in the yard that you think would be optimal for this setup. Second thing is we're going to dig the hole. Hole needs to be big enough for this base to ideally sit flush with the ground. And then the next step after that is we're going to fill this after installing our setup in the base. We're going to fill it with gravel, like I said. All right, let's get started. Run it and aim it. This particular model gives you this little tool, and it's a matter of just unscrewing the head a couple of times, turning it, getting it to where it fills in the radius like you want so it covers the yard. I can already tell I'm going to have to build another one of these just to make sure I have full coverage on the yard, but only having to build 2 of these to cover my whole front yard is pretty good.